Chapter 8. I did not hear a word from Sue, and supposedly she was MIA, still out of work with her phone line disconnected. I told my father about Sue, and he said to me, "That whore is going to take you for a ride." "Wake up," he said. I told him, "I'll take it one day at a time." My concern was about his condition. One afternoon, when I came back home, my father was laying on the floor screaming. He lost his mobility and fell. I picked him up and put in the chair. I said, "Buzzard, we might need to get you a nurse." I called him Buzzard from time to time when he called me boy, though I could only call him that. I got him a stack of Playboy magazines and told him it's tons of reading and it's only if he starts calling me by my name, George. He started reading them and looking at them, saying, "These women are lookers." I said, "Enjoy it." Meanwhile, the show had now myself, Kevin, and Vince. I used to joke with Vince, saying he was more white than me in actions. We used to do live shows in the summer, but changed it up to the winter and the holidays. AJ Redacted became the studio producer after Paul Redacted left, and at first I could, since AJ wasn't a fan of mine, but worked together just the same, while Jim Redacted would do our boards. Jim Redacted was gifted in blending in videos together and did some shoots and commercials. We shot commercials that year for the Insurance Doctor, Taboo Lingerie, and a place called Potter's Pub. We aired our shows also on a channel called Loke 7, which at the time was under a company called Black Television, commercial-based television. So the year 2001, we had a lot of exposure as well and played it good with the advertisers. In the Taboo Lingerie, Kevin was in a gimp mask. Funny stuff to say the least. Finally, in April of that year, I get a phone call from the private investigator that Sue was in jail for distributing methamphetamines, better known as crystal meth. So confirming what the investigator had told me before, she was dabbling in some hardcore drugs, which caused her to get moody and paranoid. Another trip was going to be in the making. I talked to Lisa about my situation and she agreed to help in any way she could, along with breaking it off from Ryan altogether. Smartest move she could have made. So I made contact with the Clark County to confirm that Sue was in jail. It was confirmed. Throughout this time, it was confirmed that Sue was in jail. Meanwhile, Lisa and I started getting close. I got her a job at one of the courier companies I was working for. While I did on-demand work, she ended up getting a route delivering the mail route through the state of Virginia for Virginia Power. I eventually went from on-demand work to getting a route myself. So Lisa and I were finally paired up and started doing the route together. I became fond of Lisa and had sexual tension pent up knowing she and I were working together a lot, but still hung up over Sue. Finally, on the third trip made to Las Vegas, Lisa flew with me. Matt flew up about a week later. Ryan and Lisa, just before they broke up, made that trip to Vegas and they partook in an orgy. Lisa told me the story, and I was laughing my ass off. Ryan kept calling her through the trip to make things better with her, and Lisa was hearing nothing of it. We stayed at a cheap motel at Cobble Street, the Super 8 this time. She did her thing, and I did mine with the understanding she would help talk some sense in Sue's head. She had her own money. I gave her a few $100s for food and entertainment. I went to the jail where Sue was at and bailed her out. Sue was excited to see me and told me she had every intention of making things right with me. I put a $1,000 bond and she was released until her court date. She told me what had happened with her house she was staying at was seized with a drug bust. She then admitted to me she had a drug problem. She had an addiction to crystal meth. That social services threatened to take her kids from her. I was floored, but I understood, and it didn't change the way I felt at the time. I told her that she had to be in my jurisdiction until she had to go to court. Tried to get her to stay with me and Lisa at the room. She stayed, but never was there when Lisa was there. She would stay at her girlfriend's house, LaDonna. Matt also came down, but he was using his daddy's credit card staying at different hotels, something I didn't know as well. Also, something else I didn't know, that Lisa had money but pretended like she had none. Something I didn't realize until later as well. Matt told on Lisa, and Lisa told on Matt about the money they both had without telling me a word on their part. I was floating money out for their expenses. I told Matt, "Why in the hell didn't you say something about the credit card?" So Matt got pissed that Lisa told me, so he used her body wash and conditioner and then threw the rest down a hot bathtub while he was soaking in it. Needless to say, I knew about it after Lisa knew. So there was constant bickering between the two of them, so finally I confronted them both. Both denied it until later on. Matt finally flew back home with his daddy's card, and Lisa and I got into an argument about her secretly having money and not telling me while I was dropping money on her. Her response was, "You invited me out here and wanted me to help you with Sue, so she thought she could get free meals out of me when I initially gave her certain amounts of money and the rest was on her." So we began, but that night ended up having dinner with me and Sue. Sue was staying at her girlfriend's house, LaDonna, the same girl I met before. So we picked her up and Sue, Lisa, and myself had dinner together. This was very interesting because I was dealing with two ladies that had certain agendas. One not bad as the other, but both bad enough. Yet I fell for it because I was captivated by both of them. Finally, Lisa flew back, and it was me with Sue. Sue had told me she was willing to go with me to Virginia, and this was the plan. After dinner and dropping Lisa at the airport, she insisted on going back to LaDonna's. She said I could crash there, she said. I explained I was paying for her hotel and she should stay with me. She said she will, but she needed to get back to LaDonna's that evening. Took her back, but not before I took her to Walmart and bought her new clothes. Hung with her at LaDonna's, and then went back to the hotel later on. Following morning, I called Sue, and there was no answer. Had LaDonna's number as well, so I called LaDonna to check on Sue's whereabouts, and she told me she had left the place with some other man. I said, "Surely you are kidding me." Then LaDonna said, "Point blank, Sue is not worthy of you. She is a user and takes from everyone. You do better to just forget her because she's going to really emotionally hurt you." I said, "I appreciate her concern, but where is Sue?" She said, "All she knows, she is gone and probably back where she lives." I explained that Sue is in my responsibility because of the bond. If I release myself from the bond, Sue instantly goes back to jail. LaDonna sighed and said, "Do what you need to do because she is playing you just like she does with every man." I called over there and the roommate answered the phone, then closed the phone in my face. I called again. I said, "I'm not playing fucking games. Put Sue back on the phone." Bitch closed the phone again in my face. Finally, I left on the answering service that I'm releasing myself from the bond and she better get a hold of me or they will pick her up and throw her back in jail. Finally called the bondsman and released myself from her bond. Decided it would be wise to also head myself back home. Just before I left, that son of bitch roommate start cursing me out with a return phone call. I told him to go fuck himself. Then he screamed, saying the police are taking her back to jail and if I loved her, I wouldn't have released my name from her bail. I said, "When she is hanging with trash like herself and completely ignores me, what other choice do I have?" I knew it wasn't over, and I would hear from when she really needed me, though asking myself, what kind of relationship is that with dealing with all the freaking drama? Taking what LaDonna said kept playing in my ear to make me think that she could be right.